Hello, welcome to this episode of Hampton Roads Business Live. My name is Rory Graham, and I'm your host. And today we have the pleasure of having with us Renee Armbruster from Armbruster and Associates. And you're a private eye firm.
Yes.
And that's exciting because we haven't had one of those on here. And actually, I've never had an opportunity to actually meet one until I met you and talked to you today before we came on here. You do a lot of interesting stuff. I guess it's different every day. Can you give us an overview of what your company does?
Yes. We've been in business like a long time, and I've watched the cases change quite a bit. In the beginning, we did a lot of domestics, but now we've gone to a no-fault state, so the only reason that we get pulled on infidelity is because of the opportunity to have my client's spouse sign a stipulation agreement. Mm-hmm. So that is one area. We've missing children. We've brought home. I brought home 3, and one of them, my 4th one, I lost. She died. I've done murder investigations, cold cases, corporate crime, insurance work. I've been in the European Human Rights Court with one of my criminal cases. And so we do civil, we do criminal, we do domestic, well, just about like every other.
So is what people see, when sometimes people bring us some evidence like a surveillance video and they want us to clean it up or whatever, and we can enhance it. We've helped a lot of attorneys in the area with certain things like that. However, we tell them to begin with that it's not like you see on CSI. I mean, that's all fake. I mean, you can't do what they do. Is what we see as a private investigator on TV, is that pretty representative of what you all do?
No.
No.
I'm sorry.
That wasn't the answer I was expecting.
No.
Go ahead. Okay.
No. They make it look so nice, and they make it the people always so beautiful, and the cars and everything like that. It's hard work.
Yeah.
It's hard work. It's
not as glamorous as they make it out.
And you're constantly dealing in people's sorrow, their pain, their suffering, and they count on you. Sometimes like a cat on a screen. Mm-hmm. Okay, they hang on to you for dear life to help them because you're like their last option.
Well, when it works out, I guess it's very rewarding, huh?
Oh, well, when it works out, it's rewarding for the private investigator to go and feel that they did the job and did it well. But, I'm really surprised that when they are through with the investigation and the dust has settled and everything is good for them, they never want to look back at the private investigator. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it's association with a bad time.
Yes,
maybe.
That's right. Yeah. The pain and everything. So you just say, chalk this one up. We took care of this one and move on.
So if someone's looking for a private investigator, what are some of the things they should look for in a private investigator?
Well, first they want to make sure they're legal. Okay, and that means that in the state of Virginia, they must be registered with the Department of Criminal Justice Services, and they'll have a registration identification number. Mm-hmm. They also want to make sure that they're insured and bonded. They want to make sure one or the other, insured or bonded. They want to make sure that they have experience, that this is just not a hobby with them. Oh, I can be a private eye, I'll go take the course and I'm out there. No, you're dealing with people's lives.
Right.
You've got to have...
It's serious business.
It's serious business, and it can't be done by people who just want to get into other people's personal lives.
So if someone's going to hire a private investigator, well, let's say if someone has a case, do they hire an attorney who hires the private investigator, or do they hire the private investigator?
Well, first? I've had them come both ways. But in my opinion, if they ask me, should I hire the attorney first or the private investigator first, it's like getting the cart ahead of the horse. Hire your private investigator first, because that is your evidence. Evidence and documentation is what you're going to get with your private investigator.
Right, okay. All right, well, that makes sense. All right, has there been a lot of change? I would assume in technology there would be a lot of change in the last 3 decades, because you've been doing this a long time.
Yes.
So what changes have you noticed?
Well, I've noticed that there's a lot more difficulty for the private investigator on the invasion of electronic technology. You have to be very cautious and careful that you don't step over the line there. However, I think that in the last few years, another difference has been that women have become so liberated that they're more likely to be the offending partner now than they were when I first started in the business in adultery.
Okay.
So the times have changed.
It's good we get to share that.
Yes, and children are being very disrespectful, and parents are having a terrible time with their children now. So that's another area where they run away, and the parents don't know where they're at, and they're involved in drugs or things like that. They may need a private investigator for that kind of thing because times have changed.
Right. Right, okay, well, I think that's stepped on this next question, so I won't answer that. Let me say, what is the best way to pay for a private investigator?
Okay. A lot of people would think that you want to give them a check, but you don't want maybe the other side to subpoena the bank records. So I recommend you give them cash or you give them a money order, but I don't think it's a good idea to pay them in cash.
Or now, credit cards. Or credit card statement.
No, they're traceable.
Right.
Traceable, like checks. But I do want everyone to know that in the Tidewater area, most investigators take a retainer up front, and they charge an hourly fee and a fee for expenses. Now that's got to be something that you're going to have to be expecting as a customer.
Okay, so if I, for instance, had a teenager that was missing, okay, and I come to you and I say they're missing, how would you go about?
Well, first off, you want to set up a command post, and you want to do that in the home. So I would put one of my less experienced investigators there to run a log on all the activity coming and going out of the house, and then the second thing that I would do, that would mean anybody calling in, curious about, like her little friends calling, oh, have you heard from so-and-so, feeling the mother and father out as to how much they know and things like that. So I'd set up a command post. The second thing that I would do is I would do a really good shakedown of the child's room. And I would want to look at everything, their computer, their little book, their little notes that are folded up like a zillion times, and that would maybe give me some clues. I would also like to gather up some their toothbrush, their hairbrush, and put them in a Ziploc bag for police. Now, I would also recommend that they call the police. If there seems to be probable cause that this child is not a runaway, I wouldn't hesitate a second in getting the police involved.
Yeah, that was one of the other questions I had is, do you work with the police department?
I have.
And you were a police officer?
I was, yes.
Okay,
I was a police officer.
Okay, so the private investigators aren't at odds with the police department?
I'll be very candid with you. It is difficult to work with egos that put themselves in the white hat all the time. I have found over my 30 years it is at times difficult. But yes, with the right approach to the officers, and they see that you are experienced and that you're not just doing this for, I won't say it, but anyways, you're not just doing this for fun, then they will work with you.
Okay. All right. And, all right, so how could you get the, I had a question here. How would you give me the name and address of my spouse's lover? I don't have that problem, luckily. but I guess that's something that you could run across quite often.
Yes, there's a lot of different ways to do that. And if you have sources are very important to a private investigator. If you hire someone who doesn't have sources, you have a much higher chance of just wasting your money. Sources will, and over 30 years, I've acquired a lot of sources.
Okay, so these are sources that the private investigator has.
Somebody
already.
in the utility company.
I see. Okay.
They're just everywhere. The telephone companies, they're everywhere. And you just call in your source.
Network.
My network of sources.
Okay, all right. Okay. When are cameras okay to use? Because when you were talking about technology, I was just thinking that the cameras and technology has come along so far nowadays, gotten so small and everything. So
that's a good question. I like that one.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
Okay,
I'm going to give you some examples.
All right.
Okay, if you're a party to the conversation, you can wear a hidden camera and be right there with them undercover. Say in a case of a child abuse, you can be invited in to be the nanny. And while you're there, you can open the refrigerator and show if there's no food. You can show if the house is filthy because you've got a camera on you, a body camera. And that's admissible because you've been invited in and they're there and you're having a conversation. Okay? That's one way in which you can use a camera. So
they don't need to know that you're recording them?
They don't need to know that you're recording them if you're a party to the conversation.
If you're a party of it, okay.
Okay, now, as I was saying earlier to one of your staff, as long as you can see with the naked eye into the building and you see the subjects kissing, say, for example, you can take a picture of that. You cannot go and enhance the lens of your camera to focus it in and go and invade that. There's like a secret barrier there. If your eyes can see it, it's good. You can bring it to court. If your eyes can't see it and you have to use other means to see it from the outside, you're invading their privacy.
Okay.
That's
it's
a rule.
not like video. You can shoot video in public place and everything's fair game.
Yes, because it's public.
But if it's not, then you're a
yes,
problem. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
It's a common sense job.
Well, and that brings me to the next question. Is this something people should try to do themselves? And what's the pitfalls of doing that?
That's excellent. Yeah. A lot of people think, I can do this because we get amateurs coming into the field all the time. And your clients sometimes think they can do it with a friend. Okay.
Well, TV makes it look so easy.
Yeah. The testimony in court by you that you saw this or that you took this picture or that your friend saw this is not going to work as well as if you have a disinterested party that has been hired just for this, who has nothing to gain.
No dog in the hunt.
No, we're not getting paid for victory of the case.
Right.
We're getting paid by the hour to see and report.
Right.
Okay?
All right. All right. So I know that you've had some real tragic cases and things like that, and that would be a real downer. Do you have some things that weren't maybe a good case to end with, maybe a story you could tell us?
Well, do you want a tragic first and then a funny one, or do you want just a funny one?
Or just a funny one,
okay.
I think, because we'll just end on a light note.
Okay. Well, about 2 decades ago, I had this gentleman who thought his wife was cheating. And we went out and we checked on her, and he was like a cat on the screen to me. Every single day, please find out. He had a picture blown up on the wall in his bedroom where he was staying because they had separated, and his heart was just broken. And yes, I found she was cheating, and I found out where, but the lawyer wanted me to get several nights of it. And so sometimes they ask you to get more than one night. So he called me up this one night, and he says, are you going tonight? And I said, not tonight. Tonight I've got a date. I'm not going tonight. I said, but I'll be out there tomorrow. And he said, no, I need you there tonight. I'm sure she's going tonight. And I said, okay. I said, well, it'll have to wait because I've got a date and I'm going to have a night off because he had just about strangled me to death, with his demands. So I went on out and I had a great time. And I was just thinking, gee, this is so peaceful and relaxing to get a night off because back then I was going constantly, including teaching. So I get a call from the emergency room about 2 o'clock in the morning. Is this Renee Armbruster? Yes. Do you know Mr. Joe Blow? I said, oh, yes. Yes, I do. What's the matter? Oh, here, let me let you speak to him. Okay, he put him on. I said, what in the world is going on? Well, you told me you couldn't work tonight, so I took my camera and I climbed up in the tree, and I was videoing him through the skylight, and I fell out of the tree. I hit the roof, and I fell off the roof and broke my arm. I said, oh, my God. He said, would you come and get me? I said, come and get you. How did you get there? And he said, oh, they came out and took me to the hospital.
So
So
that was real smart.
So in my slippers, I'm off to the emergency room.
Could have been worse.
And pick him up,
gone
take him
through
home.
the skylight. So.
Yeah, no, it couldn't. For me, it couldn't have been any worse.
It sounds like you have a job similar to mine in a way that it's different every day. That's what I love about what I do.
It's human nature.
Yeah, it just sounds like you have sometimes are funny things happen.
Yeah.
But is there anything that I haven't covered that you wanted to touch on?
Well, I think you've done a great job. I so appreciate this.
Okay, well,
and I could rattle on here. We're talking 37 years total.
Okay.
I mean, I could go on and on.
Okay.
But no, at this point, I think you've covered it all that for the public needs to hear.
All right. Okay, well, if you have a need for a private investigator, don't take it into your own hands. All kinds of cases can be possibly helped with this type of a service. And Renee is certainly very experienced in the area, and you can contact her at the information that's at the bottom of this page and at the end of this video. And she can certainly talk to you and see if she can be of service to you. And I thank you very much for coming in today. And
thank you.
I wish you a great deal of success.
Adios.
All right.
This was fun.